James, very nice to meet you, and thanks again for taking the time this afternoon.
No problem, Tom.
I think you had said on the phone that it was okay to take about 15-20 minutes?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Alright, well, the other thing I recall you saying on the phone is that you have Colonial.
Correct, yes,
Right.
we do.
Well, like you had said on the phone, I think, based on that, you probably have some familiarity with what we do, because our products are pretty similar. I think Colonial, as you know, is a good company. They have strengths in certain areas, just as AFLAC is and does. So, what I think often happens is when a company looks to our products, they realize that we have strengths in different areas, and sometimes they choose to offer the two side by side. But I think, with that in mind, I wanted to better understand maybe what's been offered and how it's worked, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Well, how long have the employees had access to Colonial?
2 years.
So it's pretty recent.
Yeah, and I actually have an invoice here too for you.
Okay. Any idea what products people have?
They have a disability plan, life insurance, some kind of an accident policy too. Not very familiar with it. But they seem to like it. Everybody's happy.
Has there been any claims experience?
Yeah, a couple. I think a couple of claims have been paid. Although we did have one girl who it took quite a long time to get her check. She wasn't very happy, but everybody else is pretty happy, I guess.
Any idea what type of claim that was?
I think it was a disability claim actually. She was out on maternity leave. Yeah, she didn't get her check, I don't think, until she actually came back to work, but they did pay her, so.
Well, I think one of the big differences today between AFLAC and any of the companies out there, and increasingly every day there are more companies in this industry because it's growing. But today, to kind of give you a broad overview, 30% of all supplemental insurance in the U.S. today is an AFLAC policy. And so, we've been around now for 55 years. We've developed most of the products that our competitors offer. And I think with that in mind, it's created a competitive advantage for us that, today our business model is as simple as we want to be the company that earns the smallest profit per policy and still maintains the highest profitability because we're 19 times the size of our closest competitor. So what it's translated into is things like claims that are paid. Last year, 78% of claims were paid in 3 days. Our next closest competitor's average is 10 business days. We haven't had a rate change on any of our core products in 55 years. Our next closest competitor increases the premium rates every 2 to 3 years. So I think, those things right there, generally, when you look at these type of policies side by side, it's very tough to pick up what the differences are. You'll look at Colonial's disability and ours, and if you put the two brochures side by side, you wouldn't know that if somebody went out of work and they come back to work and they're working light duties, and let's say they're working 3 days a week, well, Colonial's policy is going to pay them $0. Our policy for that same person that's working 3 days a week, where they were working 5 before, we're going to pay them 100% of their benefit. So it's those types of things, and I think, when you look at the disability, for example, on the one hand, I don't know that it would make sense to disrupt everybody's coverage, because there's going to be some examples of where people should probably stay where they're at. If I'm somebody that's owned that disability for 2 years and I went out of work and now my health has changed, I might want to keep what I have because I might have a difficult time qualifying for our product. But there might be examples too where people might be better off having access to our program.
So we can offer the two side by side?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you. Would you be opposed to giving the employees a choice where some might be better off keeping what they have, some might be better off looking at one of our programs?
Yeah, I'm just worried that if I bring in another company, it gives the impression that I'm saying that the current one isn't good enough, and it kind of makes us look like we have a bad benefit package, and I don't want anybody coming in and bashing what we're currently making available.
Right. Well, and I can appreciate your concern there, and it's a good concern. But like I said, our goal is to educate. How were the programs originally communicated from Colonial?
They actually came in and did a presentation style kind of thing at our staff meeting.
Would you say it was mostly informational?
Yeah, it was all informational.
I think that's kind of the same design of our presentation. I'm not gonna spend a ton of time talking about Colonial. I'm gonna instead focus on our programs. We do have a one-pager that gives people specific differences, and they can get those differences by calling Colonial as well. So that will allow them to choose based on what they see as those differences, and make a decision on their own.
Okay.
You know, so for example, one of the benefits you mentioned is the accident coverage. You know, the accident coverage for Colonial is very similar again, but you know, let's say for a case of poison ivy, that employee doesn't go to the emergency room, but instead they go to a walk-in clinic or they go to their primary doctor. Well, Colonial's policy says now, okay, we're only going to pay $50 for that visit because you didn't go to the emergency room. Our policy says it doesn't matter where you go to the doctor, whether you go to the emergency room, walk-in clinic, chiropractor, specialist, primary doctor, we're going to still pay you $120 for that visit. So that's the type of thing that they'll be able to see on their own and decide, is it worth changing and taking advantage of that benefit because maybe it's a little bit more flexible and user-friendly, or do I keep what I have because it cost me 15 cents less a week?
So you guys are basically the same exact company.
The products are similar until you get a chance to look at them side by side and understand them. You know, another example of the difference in that plan is, you know, let's say the example of the difference, somebody has a back injury and they go for an MRI and they go for an X-ray and they go through physical therapy and they go for 15 visits of physical therapy over 5 weeks. Well, Colonial's policy is going to pay $50 for that first visit. It has no MRI benefit. It has no X-ray benefit. It pays 5 physical therapies at a total of $25 apiece. Our policy is going to pay $25 just for the X-ray, $200 just for the MRI, and then it's going to pay $35 a visit for up to 16 follow-ups in physical therapy. So those two examples, one of them might pay you $200, the other might pay $800.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Tom, as long as you're not going to come in here and, you know, totally bash the Colonial plan, and I'll give you that opportunity to speak to everybody.
No, well, like I said, you know, some might keep what they have, and as long as, you know, we can tell them if they don't want to make a change, it's still available, and we're not here to change what they don't want to change. But those that do, you know, we'll do our best to give them just an objective side-by-side comparison.
Terrific. We actually have a staff meeting coming up next week. Why don't you can come and speak for about 10-15 minutes at that, if that's okay with you?
Yeah, and would it help, do you want me to provide you some type of announcement, maybe that can go out by a paycheck or by email?
Yeah, we actually send paychecks out this Friday, so.
Okay. And what time's that presentation? What day and time next week?
9 a.m. on Thursday.
Okay. And like I said, so we'll be there. We'll provide packets, rates.
Yeah, you're going to do the same thing Colonial did, basically.
And then
right?
Following that, you know, generally our best practice is to come back 2 to 3 days later, where we sit with those people that have expressed interest in a follow-up. If we scheduled to come back Monday or Tuesday the following week, which day would be better?
Either day, that doesn't really matter. Whatever, you know, let's wait and see what kind of interest there is maybe before we set up a follow-up.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Generally, what we'll do, and people often will ask us at the end of the presentation when we're coming back, because I'll tell them that this is informational today, and we'll have a chance to sit down with you one at a time, and we'll use those surveys as an indication of who's interested. So if from that presentation, if we had 10 surveys, would it be best for us to tell people we'll be back Monday or Tuesday?
Fine.
Monday.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll touch base with you before we leave that day, just to share with you the results, and if there is interest, we'll plan for Monday to come back.
Okay. Terrific.
All right. So for now, I'll send you an email though with the announcement for next Thursday's presentation.
Terrific.
All right. Thanks, James.
All right. No problem, Tom.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.